definitely things should be in order. We're expecting that INEC officials should be on ground, and maybe people would be checking their names, and hopefully voting would commence. I have with me here in the studio, I'm going to be starting with the gentleman on my left, Barrister Best Yusuf. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, all right, and I also am on my right. Thank you so much for joining us, Barrister.
Good morning, it's good to be here.
Okay, all right, so let us get started with your expectations for this election. I'm going to be starting with you. What are your expectations for this election so far?
Well, it's expected that there will be a level playing field for all the candidates in this election, and that the security agencies will do all that is necessary to ensure that it's history. Because prior to the election, we heard about stories, the PDP failing to sign the peace accord at the point, giving conditions and all of that. So it's hope that all of that will, the security agencies will ensure that no party is disadvantaged on the basis of any political alliance across the country. It's also expected that voting would be hitch-free. People will be allowed to vote, the candidates of their choice. The major hallmark of a democratic system is the fact that people can vote and elect the candidates of their choice. So there shouldn't be any roadblock to that. We want to also see that there's no political victimization of opponents in the electoral process. And then we also want to see that the electoral materials are delivered on time. Voting commencing on time, and that the people freely vote. So basically, that's what I expect in this particular election. I would just hope that there won't be violence, because of some of the, like I said, some of the stories that came up before the election and all of that. But it is hoped that this process will be allowed to skate through without any incidents of violence and other crises that may scuttle to the electoral process.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. What about you, Vice Best? What are your expectations?
My view is not more different from my learned friend, but in addition to that, I also want to appeal to the players, both the parties seeking the mandate of the people and the people that are going to vote. Let's for once have a credible election. That's just my summary.
Okay, all right. So let's quickly take a quick break. And when we return, we will continue this discussion on Edo State 2024. Just stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Edo State 2024. And if, as you're watching, electricity supply goes out, don't worry, you could catch up with us on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. We are streaming live there. So even if you have to leave your house, missing out on anything, as long as you have your phone with you, can catch up with us on our social media channels. So I'm going to be starting with Mr. You said that you want us to have, at least for once, we should have a credible election.
An election that is devoid of litigation.
Okay, all right. With how things are going so far, what are the steps that you think could be taken for this particular election so that we could have that free and fair election that you just recommended?
Yes, like my learned friend has said, the security agent have to be upbeat in their task. They should not be partisan. A situation where, like some of the information we are hearing, that the policemen were arresting some members of a particular political party, you know, trying to make it look as if these are the bad guys. Let me use that word. And no, it does not augur well. There should be a level. The duty of the security agent is to maintain law and order, not to take side. So if, especially in the rural areas, the security agencies are able to maintain law and order, that is where I think the majority of the vote will come from, that will decide what is going to. That is on one side. Then secondly, the issue of vote buying should be discouraged. Campaign dead. Let the people decide who will govern them. So this is not time to go and induce any voter or try to, you know, influence any voter or hire to disrupt the or snap ballot boxes. So if the security agencies really perform that role, I'm sure the election will go fine.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. And now to myself, Ms. Asia, what are your thoughts on the issue of vote buying? Because when it comes to election, I feel like election in Nigeria is taking a different turn. We move from having one major political parties and a major opposition. Now we are in the era that we are having more than one opposition party, which I know if people would see this as a good thing. But if desperation keeps climbing and it is uncertain how the outcome would be, do you think the issue of vote buying and trying to induce voters, do you think that we could do away with that at this point?
Well, vote buying is a very major challenge to, you know, a true democratic process in Nigeria. We have seen it manifest in different forms. Before it used to be that, you know, people are giving. I remember when I was far younger in my community in 1999 when democracy started. You see that people are giving even swords. You know, in a few limited cases, riots and a few others to try to induce votes. It progressed to, you know, distribution of cash, and there are all sorts of other phases of it. Now people, their cards, they can even pay for your cards so that, you know, they can vote on your behalf and all that. It's taking a very dangerous dimension, and that has not really given us a true you know, the electoral process that, you know, gives rise to the will of the people. Because if the people cannot express themselves, because those who have much of the money are able to buy up the votes, then what else do you really expect? And it's also responsible for the crime, the corruption, and the brazenness with which you know, our political actors and politicians actually take what belongs to everybody, because they need some of these funds to also by the people because of the election. And so, which is why, again, another thing is that you don't really actually have the right to be complaining about the fact that they are not doing well, because they give you your share of the money, you know, 5,000, 2,000, maybe now with the economic change, you can talk about 10,000, 20,000, you know. So that's really, and we haven't really done enough in terms of stopping vote buying. The Electoral Act makes an offense, which is clear, but, you know, how many people have been prosecuted for this? Do we really have a system? And it doesn't seem that the politicians, again, the challenge is that the politicians are the ones that will put in place the necessary institutional framework for stopping it. And so you don't want to, you're asking them to stop themselves, and which is why we haven't really seen any serious activity. Let me also take you back a little bit, you know, because now I wouldn't want to say my age, but I'm not looking old. Just a few years ago, 1999, 2000, and all of that, the National Orientation Agency was very active in educating people about the value of vote. Everything. If the government wants to involve in anything that is serious, that requires buying of the people, National Orientation Agencies will come in and educate people with billboards, with jingle. We don't see that anymore. Nobody's telling anybody the dangers of vote buying. Vote buying is the heart of that is we are facing, because these people are taking so much. Look at the former governor of Kogi State that is from the law. Is alleged to have stolen over 80 billion. And tell me what 80 billion can do. And this is just one state. The current Minister of State for Defense was alleged to have stolen over 70 billion. But like the former political party has said, once you join some parties, your sins are forgiven. Now, what I'm trying to say all of this because you cannot stop corruption if you don't stop vote buying. Because once election brings up the right people, in terms of the fact that it reflects the will of people without inducement, then people will not go and be stealing, because they want to do things. In the next election, you want to. So that's the heart of it. And I want to. I have thought that the security agencies would take steps to stop vote buying. Be on ground. We haven't also done enough in terms of stopping the way political parties spend money. They just spend billions on election and other relevant laws. INEC is supposed to be able to control campaign funding and all of that, but nobody's doing anything about it. You see them bringing out money, distributing cash, and they've completely collapsed the entire system, even beyond the election. Because what they're telling us and younger people that do not have the patience that we have had to go through school and earn some small money before you start doing your own, that you can do anything to make money, because the end justifies the means. So you still steal enough, and then you go and pay people peanuts to win election. So it is hope that in this particular election, security agencies will be on ground to try to stop this. And beyond that, we need to also ensure that there is a judicial system put in place, especially to address offences arising from conduct of elections. Because the normal court system that we have, I go to court every day, and quite frankly, sometimes I don't know what to tell my clients anymore. It's almost like a joke. You waste time, you delay, and all of that. So let's have a system that is very quick to resolving issues that has to do with electoral offences, including vote buying, and that way we might be able to stop this dangerous trend in our electoral process.
All right, definitely. And I think we could safely assume that even from this time next year, we will still be having cases pertaining to this election still in court. And it's still going to be auto debated. But before we move further, let us link up with our correspondent, John Felix, who is on the field in Edo State, to give us updates about what is going on over there. Good morning, John.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, all the members of
all right. Could you please bring us up to date with what's going on at your end over there? How is the election going so far?
Oh, great. It's election day in Edo State. The days of politicking are over. The days of campaigns are over. The days of persuading Edolites for vote has come. This is the day that all of the tests, all of the tests will be brought to bear. 2.2 million voters will be heading to the polls this morning, cast their ballot. It's a cloudy day here in Benin City, and of course, people are waiting to exercise the franchise. All right, so my journey started this morning right from Ring Road and to other parts of Benin before I moved out. And one of the first things I spotted was the fact that core members are protesting. I protested this morning that they would leave their rack centers if their allowance were paid. If they don't get paid, they won't leave. And they insisted on getting their payment before doing anything. And that is why, from the places we have visited, elections has not commenced. INEC told us that accreditation and voting exercise commenced at 8:30. But I can speak with you, as I speak with you right now, at a Kenwa polling unit. Voting has not started. the materials just arrived. This is past 9. We're about 45 minutes way below kickoff. As against other places too, we have also visited. Elections are not started in those places. No sites, no end in sight when to commence. No voting materials. We don't have places where their names are being pasted. Nothing of such. So we've seen pockets of security operatives around, ensuring that law and order is maintained, but voting has not started in most part of the places I have visited this morning.
Morning, we knew that there will be restriction of movement, that is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. From your end over there, was it thoroughly observed? And how is security like there too?
All right, so yes, yesterday the police enforced the no movement from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've seen so far that only those who have business with the election are actually moving out. Just identify yourself with your voter's card, and you're out to vote. So with regards to security operatives, you recall that in 2015, Federal High Court ruled that the Nigerian military does not have any business in covering elections. But what we've seen so far is that they've been put out there for the streets majorly to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order within the areas whereby you have the elections going on or the voting going on. We have just the police, the NSC, the Civil Defense Corps, and others. So that's just within the around the polling unit and the polling booth rather. But we have the military who are at the exterior end, the outer end, covering the waterways, the highways, just to ensure that no one, no breakdown of law and order. Don't also forget that this election, as the case may be, the raid to the Osadiba government house eats up immediately. People will be going out, to vote to determine who takes over from Godwin come November, as the case may be. So we have security operatives who are in strategic locations, but the point now that, of course, what I've also observed this morning is to see how well these police officers will be able to man the areas they've been allotted to them. Apparently, we've seen that, of course, hoodlums, we've seen some people who don't have business around the rack centers loitering and hovering around them, and they couldn't tell them to go back. So we can just hope that there won't be breakdown of law and order even as we go ahead in this election.
Thank you so much for that. So earlier you mentioned something about core members that were protesting. Do you have any information if they are still there or if their needs have been met?
Okay, just before I left that particular rack center, they said they won't leave if their payment have not been made. As we began this broadcast, we saw that a vehicle from the rack center just moved in right behind me. They are taking positions already. And at the moment, I've not been able to identify, from what I can see behind me, I've not been able to identify a core member yet, but I'm actually seeing some other agents. I believe this VO is okay enough. So I see they're actually arranging, they're taking positions already to set up their tables, but I've not been able to see a core member in his uniform. I've seen there's a position there, there's an arrangement going on there, even from direct behind me here. I can also see on that arrangement going on there. Of course, the third point, we have about five different polling units here. So, but from what I've seen so far, I've not seen a core member. At the moment, I've not seen a core member. Perhaps they have held on to their position that they won't go if their payments have not been made. So I can tell you for free, at this particular polling unit, no core member is on ground to assist with this electioneering process.
How do you think that their absence from the participation in this election, how do you feel it will affect the election if they do not participate?
Well, this boils down to the level preparations from INEC. INEC, of course, recruited, this ad hoc staff, which include core members, and don't also forget that they had months to prepare, they had months to plan, and it's not an unusual development as far as electioneering campaign is concerned in Nigeria. Over the years, we've always had complaints, issues about non-payment of allowances to core members, to transport unions, and of course to other very key and strategic stakeholder as far as this election is concerned. As far as to answer your question directly, that means there's going to be a shortage of an extra hand as far as this election is concerned, particularly in this particular polling unit area that I presently. So they will of course see how they will manage the situation, but I can tell you for free that on this particular polling unit, there is no core member on ground.
Much of that. But just before we let you go, what about the voters there? Since you said that election have not commenced, do they seem unhappy about the development, or they are already used to election going this way and they're just patiently waiting for the election to start? How is their mood like?
Yes, I must commend them. You know, they got here before the ad hoc staff as early as 8:30. Most of them have arrived at this location and they've maintained calm. They've been peaceful so far. This is just a few minutes to 9, about this 9:25 for an election that's supposed to commence at 8:30, and setup has just commenced here. So before election will take off at a particular location, maybe in another 5-10 minutes, as the case may be, 1 hour lost already. You know, so, and just like I said earlier, other places we have visited, there's been a bit slow start. Some places have not even started at all. And with this weather that is very cloudy, we just hope that there won't be voter apathy as far as this election is concerned. Don't also forget that at the previous election, the people that voted were less than 700,000. But now that we have about 2.2 million voters who have picked their PVCs, we hope that at least a very substantial amount of them will come out to vote.
Thank you so much, John Felix, for giving us that update. We truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. And please do stay safe over there. We'll be linking up with you as the program goes on to give us more updates and fresh happenings at your end there.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now, all right, now to our guest here in the studio. We've just had development of what is going on the election scene right there. So with what we've had of core members protesting, and there's often delay when it comes to INEC officials getting started with the election. So how would you rate INEC's preparation for this election if we are having this at the start?
Thank you very much. That was why I said at the onset that I hope we will get it right this time, because these are some of the indices that lead to flawed election. Have money not been budgeted for all this exercise? What step did INEC take to ensure that what is due to each person is given? And I will also appeal to the core members. You know, when you are in national service, you are expected to make some sacrifice. I expect them to at least let us make a difference this time and ensure that the election is credible. We won't derail the process. That they can now hold INEC to ransom that, look, we have played our part, we have done everything necessary to ensure that this election is credible. Come and pay us what is due for. But they should not be part of the process that derail this election. You understand? You may have a right, you may insist on your right, but at the end, your right may be detrimental to the overall benefit of the society. Okay. So I will also advise them to, you know, maintain a little.
Okay, all right. So what about you, Elvis? What do you have to say about the conduct of the core members regarding the election?
It's sad that you know, we are already seeing this, considering the amount of money coming to elections in this country. We shouldn't be hearing stories like this. And I'm sure the core members who are insisting are doing so obviously because of experiences of other core members in the past. We have seen instances where after they are used to conduct elections, somebody else will pocket the funds and they will not get it. And so now they are saying that, look, it's cash and carry, you know. And you know, to themselves, you can't really blame them. And just tells you that, you know, INEC hasn't really done enough in terms of preparation. Because I mean, this is an off-cycle election. We are looking at just one state election. So it would, I mean, if we want to project the kind of INEC we want to see in the future, you want to showcase it in an election that you should only be able to manage it because it's just restricted to one state. But to be hearing stories like this, that people who are deployed to assist the electoral process are, refusing to do their jobs because they haven't been paid, is unpalatable. I think it shouldn't just be another story. After this election, hopefully, questions should be asked, about developments like this, because you need the core members who are educated people, who are supposed to be serving the nation, who are supposed to be unaffiliated to political interests, to give some credibility to the process and all of that. So if you prevent them from doing so because of greed, fraud, and corruption that has permeated the whole strata of our national life, then it will be very sad to hear. I didn't hear any complaint about funding function. I didn't hear that, we have not had enough funds. They said we were ready for the election, as they always say. And unfortunately, it's after the process is flawed that they will not come out and start talking about, we had these challenges, we had that challenges. But, if you are having a challenge, you should express it before the election so that those who are supposed to make the funds available will do so. But if you don't do so and then you wait till a day like this, you are creating a very bad situation. This is past 9 o'clock, and from what he's saying, and it appears he's in Benin City, and the election is happening. If the election is not happening in Benin City, where else will it be happening? Will it be in my village? Will it be in my village in the Benin in the local government area? No, so it just tells you that nothing is happening right now. And so when are you going to start the voting process? So it's quite sad. I'm really very disappointed to hear this. And I hope that questions should be asked by the appropriate authority on what led this, and so that we can check, avoidable issues like this.
Okay, all right. So I feel like we should also talk about, because while we are analyzing, we should also try to give solution. Delay to polling units is something that we could say happens all the time at an election. So what would you recommend could be done to solve this issue? Even when we are going out to cover elections, we get there, we see party agents, and they're all just sitting down because we are still waiting for the election materials to get there. So what advice would you give to ensure that this becomes a thing of the past?
I think it's very simple. It's logistics, right? It's preparation. We already know the number of polling units we have in Edo State. Like I said, it's an off-cycle election where it's limited to just one state. So we know the number of units. So way ahead of the election, there should be an arrangement with vendors or other third parties you contract to supply materials, deliver materials, security arrangement of the process, and the involvement of the agents and of local parties in the process. This should be well thought out way ahead of time. It shouldn't be on the day of election you start rushing. The law allows you to deliver materials, at least the non-sensitive material ahead first, and then sensitive ones, very close to the election or the day of the election. So basically, this is just a matter of planning. It's planning. So if you plan it right, and it is the INEC that has the power and duty to plan, have the funds. So why do you keep having this recurring decimal? The solution essentially is planning. It's planning. You have to plan. You have to. In other parts of the world, they know the minutes and the time, the hours it will take for materials to get to a particular location. So that when you are now deploying people, you make sure, for example, if it's going to take 1 hour to get to my village, then you make sure that the person is mobilized at least 1 hour 30 minutes or 1 or 2 hours before that time, so that you get there way ahead of time. It's just planning. So until we get the planning right, get the logistics right, and not needs to go back to the drawing board to see who are these people they are using to do all these things and what is exactly responsible for the delay. So for me, yes, that we must fund the INEC, but like I said, they haven't complained that they didn't have enough funds. So this is lack of proper planning, in my view. And I think we just need to do proper planning going forward and ensure that you have competent vendors to assist, like transporters and other people, to bring the materials on time, and then you also make sure that payments are made way ahead to avoid some people who are going to be involved. And I can tell you for free that it's not just about NYSC people. We've seen situations where even some maybe motivation that's beginning to security people that so secure, they will not get it, and then they will still not go yet. They will start complaining about it. The transporter will say until they receive the money. Most times they receive the money just on the day of the election. Then this should have been done ahead. So it's planning, and we have to just get our planning right.
Alright, and now to the best. What would be your recommendation?
My recommendation, before I give any recommendation, let me give an observation.
Okay.
At least in a situation, they're not supposed to have people addressing the electorates that, look, we are having a problem. We are having problem of transport. We are having problem of people. Be patient. Very soon somebody come and attend to it. In fact, the attitude of both INEC and those in authority shows that they don't take the voters into consideration.
They don't want people to vote.
So they just believe that, let them say, at least today is a work-free day, they can just while away their time. Some people are living day by day, you understand? So for somebody to leave his business and come to a place like just to come and cast a vote that should ordinarily take 30 minutes and for him to spend the whole day, it's discouraging. That's why you have voters apathy. So like my learned friend has said, let the proper thing be done. I see no reason why sensitive material cannot get to the venue at least by 7 a.m. if voting is to start by 9 a.m. So let there be proper logistics. Like yesterday was a work-free day. It was enough for them to arrange everything, having known the number of polling units, having known where and what should get to each person. There shouldn't be this type of situation. Because from the look of things, it's like we are still going back to the status quo.
Because in 2023, when there was issue of cash shortage, I think they tried their best in trying to make sure that all people that were involved in the election got paid. But of course, there are always some complaints here and there about the election. So you recommended that there was the old day yesterday, which was work-free day,
yes,
to get things ready, and then today maybe things should be there at 7 o'clock. But should we also consider some unforeseen circumstances that could delay, and then because there are sometimes that we could have bad roads, breaking down of vehicles, because machine doesn't respect anybody. Force could happen at all times.
Yes.
So what about in situations like that?
But it shouldn't be of this magnitude. We have not even had vote being cast in any polling unit. So if there's going to be technical hitch in one or the other, that could be understood. But not in a whole state. We have not even heard of a polling unit where vote is being cast. So these are things we should just, those at the helm of affairs should take into consideration. The Edo State election is coming up in 2 months' time. I hope we are not going to have a scenario like this again.
Okay, definitely. So would we say that INEC should probably have a note and a pen to be jotting down all these observations that people are making? Because we would think that that should have been done. We had a lot of elections took place in 2023 in a lot of states, also the presidential election. But do we not think that lessons should have been drawn from that to make sure that stuff like this do not happen for this election? Because like you said earlier, this is a smaller election compared to the magnitude of the one that was done for the 2023 general election. So what does that say about INEC's observation and then acting on that, using past problems to create solutions for the new ones that they are going to run into? What does that say about INEC?
I mean, historically, you see that INEC has demonstrated a lack of inability to learn from what has happened in the previous election. We have seen that the same complaints has manned most elections in the country, from the late commencement of polling, late delivery of materials, and all of that. So it's very clear that INEC hasn't demonstrated competence in managing elections in this country. INEC hasn't really shown that. Look at what they did in the 2023 election. It was quite abysmal. Before the election, you told us that you needed billions and billions to put an infrastructure in place that would ensure that votes as votes are being cast and counted and the units that they will be transmitted, you know, and then you didn't. If a day to the election, you assured Nigerians that was going to be the case. You told us that you are using it in one which state election or House of Assembly election, and you say it was a foolproof process. And then the election that wasn't done. And then later on, you know, came up with the story that it was due to some. I mean, how do we keep recycling the issues? You know, like you said, INEC is supposed to have, you know, take notes of all the changes in the electoral process, and then in the next election, try to correct it and improve over time, so that, you know, eventually we get the kind of election management system that we desire as a nation, that would birth the new Nigeria that would solve, you know, a lot of the problems we have seen in the country. But it seems that INEC doesn't really want to do that, and so for me, it's really deliberate incapacity. Because how do you conduct elections every month, every 2 months, every now and then the same issues continue to reoccur? For me, this appears to be sabotage of the electoral process by the political actors who appears to have, you know, reached INEC one way or the other. I mean, let us call it a spade. You know, if you engage somebody to be a manager in your company or in your office, and then the same problem you're calling, are you going to continue to maintain, you know, continue to employ that person? You know, it shows incompetence, and I'm very disappointed at the current INEC chairman who, you know, when he talks, he doesn't even acknowledge, you know, the sheer incompetence of INEC in managing elections. You can't take Nigerians for a ride. The electoral process is the most important duty that you can have in a democratic society, because if you don't get that right, every other thing will not be right, will be wrong. That's where we are at now. Every other thing is wrong because politicians know that they don't need the people to win elections. They need to cause all these kind of challenges, delay people, so that when people become frustrated, they leave the election, they go home, and then you see no turnout, and yet results will still be announced at the end of the day. And so, or after a while, you allow talks, and who knows? He mentioned earlier that there are some strange people lurching around, and nobody's doing anything about it. You know, that scares people away. And what politicians have done, particularly in the 2020 election, which INEC should have learned from, in places like Lagos, is that, you know, people were scared away from voting. You know, and so you should look at all of these and, you know, put up a system that will eventually ensure that we get the electoral process right. But I'm really very disappointed and disappointed really that we're not seeing that. We are seeing the same issues being coming up. So INEC should really sit up if they really want to continue to do the job, unless they want us to become a banana republic that that anything goes. You cannot have this kind of situation. And if you are a chairman, you are a rec or whoever, and you continue to oversee situations like this, and you're not doing anything about it, then you're grossly incompetent, and should, you know, leave the scene for more competent people to manage the electoral process.
Okay, all right.
And also, in addition to that, I hope this is not a deliberate ploy by INEC. By the time they have I don't know what to call it, a mishap of the so-called election, they will not say whoever is not contented should go to court.
Yeah, that is always what usually ends, because at the end of every election, we have told that whoever is not satisfied should go to the court.
And that is not supposed to be a comment coming from an umpire, an electoral body that claim to be a credible institution conducting election that will determine the future of people for 4 years. He will say whoever is not contented should go to court. I've done what I want to do.
In fact,
the same claim they would have directed him to tender his resignation for that careless comment.
In fact, you know, today when people tell you to go to court, what they're telling you is that you have no recourse. Nothing is going to. That's what it means. Telling you to go to court today is an implied way of telling you that there's nothing you can do, because we have seen that even the judicial system has not had what it takes for some time now to, you know, really stand up to the politicians. Because I go back to the 2023 election, where INEC promised that this was what was going to be done. The regulations were made for it, And then the court said, no, you can change it without even informing Nigerians, without informing the political actors. The court agreed that INEC would change it and it did not affect, you know, evaluate the election. When you have a court system like that, this country is not good. I'm sorry to sound like this, but this country is not going to get anything right. Because what the possible man says, go to court. You know, it's basically telling you that you have no, you have nothing you can do. You'll be beaten, you go and cry, and that's it. You know, so it's sad. We cannot be telling people to go to court. You know, when we know that even the judicial system itself has not demonstrated, you know, capacity to stand up to the politicians in terms of ensuring that all these material infractions count in determining election petition cases.
Thank you. All right, and now let us talk about the issue of security, because we have thousands of security personnel that were deployed for this election, not just from police. We also have the sister agencies to also assist for this process. But well, yesterday at a local government area in Edo State, they were able to disarm some armed men. Where that is so close to, that's just on the eve of election. But now that we all heard from our correspondent that they saw some suspicious faces loitering around, is it to be inferred that perhaps we still are not totally protected when it comes to security, and then the number of security personnel that deployed might not be enough?
You see, the question is a little bit about whether or not we have enough security personnel deployed. The question is the institution itself. Our security institutions, are they independent enough to ensure that, irrespective of the political interests you represent, the law is enforced? That's really the problem, because, like I said, this is an off-cycle election. You should be able to manage it, because all the security agencies is there. I saw the way the police have deployed people, even the army people are speaking, even though they don't have any business with the election, but they're on the street. And so it's expected that they should be able to manage this process. But what we have is that because our institutions are not strong enough to be independent, they will not begin to form a particular political party, you know, or political group, and against the other. And so, if you identify as you are a thug, and they see that you want to help this particular group, they turn a blind eye. That's what we have seen. We saw it in Lagos, in the Lagos election, which was very sad. We saw how people who were speaking in a particular way, who were driven away from political units, you know, and the security agencies were not doing about it. So I'm not surprised that, you know, people are not doing around now, and security people are not doing anything. And, you know, like I said, this has nothing to do with the personnel that has been deployed. This has to do with fairness of our process, you know, independence of our institutions, and the fact that politicians have infiltrated everything that is sacred in this country, and which is sad. And so my message to my people, you know, is that the only way we can rewrite all of these stories is to stand our ground, continue to wait till they are ready for this election, and vote your conscience, vote for the right people. Because otherwise, you know, we continue to have this problem. You know, you need people. It's not, you see, it's beyond just capacity. It's beyond education. It's beyond, you know, we have seen people who are not able to connect with people in terms of solving their problems. I'm from those states. I'm from the community. In my village, last time my village was graded, as I speak here, and a few of my friends were the ones that went to grading. That road has not been graded for over 15 years, for over 20 years. You can't continue to have that. And the reason why you're having that is because they scare you away from election. So don't be scared. You know, you stand your ground, be peaceful, and ensure that you cast your ballot. Refuse to be used by whatever. If anybody gives you money, please take it and go and use it to buy drink to celebrate your candidate after the election. But make sure you vote your conscience, and you know, so that we can stop this nonsense about lack of independence of our security agencies in managing our electoral process.
Also, in addition to that, going by the number of security agencies deployed, from one news tabloid that I read, it said about 30,000 policemen were deployed. 30,000 policemen in a particular state is enough to contain any security challenge that may come up. But I was surprised that, as at the time that correspondent was reporting to us, he showed us some of the strange faces there, and the security agents were just loitering as if it's a normal thing. Understand? This was This is a state that the Chief of Defense Staff personally, the head of the military organization, went and assured that everything will be contained. There will not be any security breaches. But I'm sure by the end of today, we may not hear something palatable from this, going by the way things are.
Okay, all right. Now, when we talk about electoral violence, although we are hoping that that would not be recorded for this election, that's wishful thinking, but we can't say for sure that is not going to be recorded. But for this time, what do we exactly allot much blame to when it comes to electoral violence? Is it the politicians or the people who let themselves be willing tools for these politicians?
It is due to weak institutions. There should be, if the court is too congested with conventional cases and the rest, there should be a tribunal, an electoral. I think there have been proposals for that, to set up an electoral offences tribunal and the rest. These are tribunals that should be set up to handle things like this. And if anybody found one thing is really dealt with, I'm sure in the next election, people will think twice before trying to truncate the system. That's just my take on that.
Okay, all right. What about you when it comes to?
I mean, my colleagues are absolutely correct. You know, look. I mean, I'm sure in social theories and some other studies you have done in school, you would have come across the concept of the Obesian state of nature. You know, where life was nasty, brutish, and short. That's the nature of man. Man is callous. Man is an animal, right? So the only way to bring man to subjection is to have institutions that are competent to fairly, dispense justice and enforce the rules. If you don't have that, you can't blame the people. You can't blame criminals. I don't blame criminals. I don't blame people who are doing wrong things. A lot of Nigerians here behave anyhow, but the moment they step into the Heathrow airport in London or into a New York airport, you see that they change. They begin to watch your back because they know that the security agencies are independent enough to enforce rules, right? I'm not saying that they don't have issues in societies, but you can see that there's a collaborative and dependent way of dealing with those issues. So it's not about man is a man, like I said, and so you expect. I don't blame man. Somebody was telling me I had an argument, another hilarious argument with a friend, and he was saying that I'm a bad. I said I don't blame people. I don't blame anybody who some people are even born that way. They just want to go and steal. There's no justification for it. But the point is that you have a civilized society. In civilized societies, you have institutions to check all of that. So it is lack of enforcement of law, either by the police, the security agencies, and then with US judiciary, the enabling way by which disputes are resolved. That is responsible for all of this. So if you really want to have a safe society where people think twice before committing offenses, before becoming violent like this, becoming tools for the politicians, because the politicians will not be able to use it as a tool if you are afraid that you will be caught and then sent to jail. If you send 3 to jail every year over this, you see that if people ask the politician, look, what are your children are in Harvard. Speaking to one politician, I don't want to mention names in Benin one time, and he said his son is in schooling. He just sent his son abroad. And I was looking at the man. You have sent your son abroad, but you know how you use the children of the poor. You have weaponized hunger. You have created hunger. You are not using it to enslave people. Give them people you want to get whatever you want. So the only way to check that is not. I don't have any. It is you have to have the institutions right. And you have to have the process right. The people, the only way the people is that people must have seen by now that the politicians are not going to save us, right? Because they enjoy this game. This is their game. This is what they are enjoying. They're enjoying it. So the people must rise up to say, look, we cannot continue like this. We must the right people. The moment we change that and begin to vote the right people. If you vote one and it's not doing well, vote him out in the next election and it's not doing well. Do it within 10 years, I can tell you Nigeria will change.
It's sad that in Nigeria, anybody who wins an election, there's always this insinuation that the person is going to stay there for the next 8 years.
Which is very sad, really, because just winning the first election shouldn't be a guarantee for winning the next election. Winning the next election should be, a commentary, should be an examination, a result on what you have done in the first term. If you didn't do that, the people should be able to vote you out. In this particular, in Edo State, for example, again, when Obaseki was seeking re-election, many people like us supported him because we felt that there was signs of good things to come in the first term. It wasn't really perfect, but we felt they would say, oh, you can see governor, you will come and you see some things, but you get second term and then things change. It should be like that. And so elections should be an examination. It should be a report card. Every child goes to school, you write exam, at the end of the term, they give you the report card. If you are failed, you are failed. Mm-hmm. And if you are failed, there should be a reward for failure. People must know that. And people must be able to also see that all these ethnic politics, oh, this person is from my place, oh, that is zoned to one place. Fairness is a good thing, right? But so we must ensure that competence is married into that fairness. We must ensure that the right people are voted. So, because otherwise, we're not going to solve this problem. We're not going to change this narrative. They will continue to do this. I mean, who is supposed to oversee INEC? It's the National Assembly. It is the people that have the oversight function, and these are the politicians. And so, until you put fire in their bottom to say, look, you must do the right thing in every election, we're not going to have it right.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, now we have our correspondent Dele Fast on standby, who is also going to give us an update on how things are at his end. Good morning, Dele. Well done.
Right.
How things going at your end over there?
All right.
Okay. Good morning. How are things going at your hand over there?
Yes. Good morning. Yeah, things are going fine. I'm at a place called Mokpai Modern Primary School in Oredo local government area of Edo State, where the governor, Godwin Obaseki, is expected to come and cast his vote. You could see behind me there, you could see voter turnout here, waiting for INEC officials, polling officers to set up. So they start accreditation and voting simultaneously. We've been here for over 1 hour, and most of the polling units within where I monitored around Oredo local government, voting has not started. People are still setting up with the INEC officials who just arrived in about 15 minutes ago. So the situation right now is that they are waiting for INEC officials to set up, so the voters who have turned out in their numbers here will start voting. And like I said earlier, this is where the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, will cast his vote. So we have some signals now that will be coming any moment from now. But now the residents are waiting to cast their votes.
When we spoke to Just Felix, he mentioned something about some core members protesting. Is the situation same thing over there, or are there core members who are on there doing their work?
Yeah, the core member right now, I believe it has been resolved, because earlier there were a lot of challenges talking about payment and what have you. But right now, the core members behind me, they are the one arranging the polling boxes and the materials in ensuring that they get set for voting to commence. We tried speaking with them, but they said elections like this, they are not entitled to speak on such issues since it's financial issues. But they said that they are working to make sure they don't disrupt the election process. So people will not say hold them responsible. But right now, they are going about their businesses of ensuring that the materials get to the electorate to cast their votes.
And what about the voters turnout over there? Since you mentioned that INEC got there about 15 minutes ago, that is over an hour from the time that they were expected to get there. What is the mood of the people like? Are they disappointed, or they are still very much eager to cast their vote?
I must tell you the truth. Most of the voters are not even happy with the situation because they said this was not INEC. This was not what INEC promised them. When I say when it is 8:30, it should be 80. You know, the voters in some places, they turn out in large numbers only to return when they didn't see officials of INEC. Over past night in Kenwa, in Ikoba, and most part of ASAN that we monitored. We ensured that the INEC officials there, they were not on site, but the voters are trooping in. You could see behind me, some of them are still coming into this modern primary school here to cast their vote when they heard that the INEC officials have come back. So in the earlier stage, the INEC did not live up to expectation in the early stage. But one of the taxi drivers, the bus drivers that conveyed materials, he told us that the problem they had was from some of the rack centers. But it was not so from the Ogbe Primary School rack center where I had Ella visited this morning. What they told us was that they've not settled the core members. That if they settled them, they would have gone to various polling units earlier. But now it's 2 minutes to 10 a.m. Voting has not started here, but they are still trooping in while the INEC officials and adult staff are getting set for voting to commence. Over to you, Reverend.
In that local government area yesterday, they were able to disarm some armed men there. So how has that impacted the voters today? Did that cause fear in them, or did the action from security agencies, did that restore their confidence in the fact that they would be safe? Since there was a little security threat yesterday, but it was well handled. How is it like there security-wise?
Yeah, okay. Talking about gunmen yesterday, where I'm in Oredo here, the coalition center not far from where I am. Yeah. What really happened was, I know parties, they said they arrested some persons trying to hijack materials at the coalition center. But today, it's a different ball game. But this was not what we experienced 4 years ago. I was here at this same modern school unit, polling unit here, where the thought was more than this. No, but we are still expecting large turnout. But comparing it to 4 years ago, it's a different ball game entirely. Because what I see behind me here is not encouraging compared to that, but it's still the fear, the apprehension that what will happen next. You know, earlier some of them, the elderly were saying, if there is tension, they will not come out. But some parents, the police gave them the assurance just that, and the military going every of these meters away, you see the military positioning in areas like that to ensure that people come out, that people are not afraid to come and cast their vote. But now I think that played a major role in keeping the people away, because they know less than 24 hours to the election, some armed men were threatening. So what will happen in the election proper? So that really played the part. But presently, I'm speaking for today. Now we could see people are turning in their polling gradually to make sure they cast their vote, because this polling unit alone takes over 4,000 persons here. So what we see now, people are just coming in they're not tricking in one or twice to ensure that they come and exercise their voting right.
On INEC's part, that means they would extend time for the election, since the delay is obviously their fault.
Could you please take that again?
Okay, I was asking that, do you think that currently INEC might have to extend the time allotted for the election, since delay is their fault?
So, I think the INEC rec, you know, Dr. Onoha, what he said from the onset was that they will not leave until the last person on the queue is voted. That is what he said. But we will watch how this plays out, because most of the voters coming in now, what they are saying, that since they've not started voting, and it's about almost 2 hours behind, they will give them that time, which INEC has promised them. They promise it verbally, but the practical aspect is what we are expected to see and hope they match their words with action. The electors are here to ensure that they fulfill their own obligation of voting So because the blame is not on them as we speak. So we watch and see. We cannot say now, no INEC official has that mandate to address anyone here. But I know the REC and the national commissioners are aware that the situation in most of over 80% of the place in Oredo that we visited have the same feeling of no materials coming late, and officials just setting up. So I think we expect that. That's what we expect INEC to do, because they said it in the initial stage, and we hope they match their words with action. And before they said they will extend it, before they said that they will allow the last person on queue to vote, this, they never envisaged this will happen. But taking this into consideration now, I think they have to still wait over 4 o'clock down to 5 to make sure everybody gets their vote and nobody is disenfranchised.
Okay, all right. We thank you so much for that update. Please do stay safe over there, and we will be connecting with you much later as the election goes on, or if there's any fresh developments, we'll be communicating with you. Thank you so much for that update.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay, all right. That's our correspondent from Edo State, David Fassam, and he has given us update on what's going on. In case you missed it, it's 4 minutes past 10 right now, and voting is yet to commence because of our delay from the part of INEC. Although from what he said, they are on ground, but they are still setting up, and voters have not been able to cast their vote yet. So before we move forward, let us go on this break, and when we come back, discussions and analysis will continue. Stay with us.
The Nigerian Navy has deployed personnel, helicopters and gunboats to support the Nigerian police force in the conduct of the Edo State off-cycle governorship election. Worthy of mention is that Nigerian Navy ship Delta has deployed gunboats in all the waterways, hotspots and choke points adjoining to Edo State through Benin River to ensure smooth and safe conduct of the Edo State off-cycle governorship election in support of the Nigerian police force. Pertinent to state that the support of the Nigerian police force in internal security is part of the mandate of the Nigerian Navy, as clearly stated in the Nigerian Constitution. And a note of one is is to all criminal elements that are advised to stay off all Edo waterways, creeks, and rivers linking to the high seas that fall within Nigerian Navy ship Delta's area of operations.
The message by the Nigerian Navy is clear that criminal elements who have no business with the election should stay clear of the border towns and the waterways in ensuring that we have an issue-free Edo election come Saturday. And the support by the Nigerian Navy to the Nigerian police is one of the synergy and the call by the Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, in obeying the order of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that security is key in ensuring that this election is free, fair, and violence-free. From Benin City, Daily Fast One, reporting for Galaxy TV News.
If you're just joining us, this is Edo State 2024. We've missed quite a bit, but don't worry, you can catch up with us on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. We stream live on both of those platforms. So if you're just joining us, the election is supposed to have started, but due to some delay from INEC, election is yet to commence in the local government areas. We've had updates from two of our correspondents who are live there at the same, and well, like I said, there are delays that which we hope would be sorted soon, but it seems like there is hope because one of those local government area, INEC is on sale and they are sectional. So hopefully maybe in the next 30 minutes or thereabout, voting is going to commence in that local government area. So now to my guests here in the studio, this election is a precious one. I'd like to regard it as such because of the over 2.6 million registered voters, we had 2.2 million PVCs collected. But now that we are seeing some of them, they are not happy according to what was reported from our correspondent. How do you think this would impact people going forward in coming out for the election? Because if people who are there did not vote yet, they'll probably call their people after and say, look, I'm still here on the scene and I've not been able to cast my vote yet. So how do you think that would impact this election?
Well, from the news we had from the second correspondent, it was quite encouraging. So if actually the COP members have started cooperating with the officials and they are going there to set up their stands, I think they can communicate to their people that, look, something is about to start. I know I do people. My mother is a Benin woman.
Okay.
So I can say I'm a Benin man.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they are politically conscious. And that is why when it comes to election, they don't joke with it. They are very determined. And if they are made up their mind that this is the person we are going to vote, nobody can take it away from them. Okay. I respect them for that.
Okay, all right.
So the fact that there was this initial hitch, if they can be able to, settle all those outstanding issues, and I think people will still come out and vote. It will not affect the outcome of voters.
Okay, all right. So should I say to the full-blooded Benin man?
Because I'm a half-blooded Benin man.
So would you also agree that this would not dissuade people of the state from coming out to vote?
What Vela just said is right. That the people who are, very conscious of elections, and they will wait and vote. But of course, it doesn't mean that it will not affect it one way or the other. Even if you have people who are willing and ready to vote, some will eventually get tired and return, which is the problem, because delays like this increases voters' apathy. I'm looking at Emokpai Primary School, where the last correspondent reached us from, and you can see that there's even with the kind of number of voters expected in that location, you only have a very scanty number of people around there. And like he said, some people have come and then they have gone. So you can't wish away the fact that it might likely affect the outcome of the election. But you know, our people are resilient, like my learned friend said, and it is hoped that they will not be discouraged by this. They will stick to their guns and then ensure that the votes are cast and then they are counted and the proper things are done. I believe that will be done, because if you look at the history of the country, Edo State is one of those states where you cannot really tie to any political party. PDP didn't win any reasonable election in the last election to elect the House of National House of Assemblies and the Senate. In fact, one of the candidates from Eastern Central, the APC candidate, won the senatorial seat from a PDP candidate in the election, and Labour, you know, won also many of the places too. In fact, in the presidential election, Labour got over 70% of the votes from Edo State. So Edo is like that. We are not really tied to any political party. We believe in justice and fairness, and you can see that playing out in this election. People are saying, for example, that even though I have my issues on that, but maybe when we get that preach, people are saying that power should go to a particular part of the state. That's the way Edo people are. In fact, you see that coming from even the Benin people, who are supposed to be almost 60% of the population of the state, saying that look, power should go to another zone. You know, so and that's what some of the things that are playing out in this election. And so it is hoped that this would play out again, and then our people would be resilient and be patient to ensure that the votes come in, because the politicians are happy with situations like this. Those who want to take advantage of the electoral process will be happy. They don't want you to vote, actually, because at the end of the day, they will still go and find a way to record votes from all these units. Because if I'm very worried, because if you say that Mokwa is where the government is going to vote and nothing is happening there, that means that it's actually worse in other places, not just in Oredo, that is the state capital, part of the state capital. Then it's going to be, I mean, just imagine what will be happening in my local government, in my village, that they don't have, the road has not been, like I said, has not been graded for over 15 to 20 years. So it's really not, you know, it will affect the election in a way. But like I said, the people are still going to be resilient enough to ensure that they do what needs to be done. But it's probably going to affect the turnout of results in the election.
Okay, all right. And continue with our discussion. Before we took that live update from our correspondent, we were talking about how it is often assumed that once politician is appointed in office, it is assumed that the person is going to spend 8 years in that office. So who exactly is to be blamed for that? Because he mentioned that elections are like, and tenure in office are supposed to be like examination. Your tenure is like the result you get, and then the election is what determines if you have passed for your tenure in office. So if we have people who keep on voting, these people who have not really done so well for the state, and they are aware of the tricks and tactics of how politicians operate in Nigeria. So is it not the people that we would blame at the end of the day for the situation of things in their state?
No.
Since they have the power to elect the people there.
No, we won't blame the people, because I remember in the last, apart from this current, this election that happened in Kogi State, the one when Yahya Bello was governor, the people came out to say we don't want this man. And they voted for a particular candidate overwhelmingly. But somewhere along the line, we saw what transpired. So the people may actually have that dexterity that, look, we are going to elect this particular candidate. But when the powers that be, that have all the resources, that have all the equipment, you understand, that even control the umpire, we say this is what is going to be, then you cannot blame the people. So we just hope that things will work well this time.
Or could it be because Nigerians are just very forgiving people and they don't give people second and third chances?
No. Nigerians believe the election is not worth dying for.
Okay.
So they are not the type of people that will really take to the street and start destroying property because of election. They are, but in some areas it could be done, but at least for the majority of Nigerians, they don't really key into that practice. Otherwise, I don't think the politician would have had the dexterity to take them for granted anymore.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, earlier in our discussion, you mentioned something about the National Orientation Agency that when you were younger, like you said, you said that they do a lot of sensitization and then they do a lot of things. So how do you think we could go about reviving these agencies to let people know of how precious they should treat their votes? Because whether we like it or not, whoever gets in power, be it the choice of the people, be it that the vote was manipulated to get the person here, that person will still be in rule till the next 4 years. And then sometimes I wonder that how come people do not use the power of because if there are lots of complaints, issues like impeachment, the things like impeachment does come up, but how come we don't really see that playing out in Nigeria, even though the people are largely dissatisfied with the government of the day?
The simple reason is that, you know, our electoral process is not built to, answer to the wishes and aspirations of the people. Our electoral process in this country, if we want to tell ourselves the truth, is a lie. It's in fact, it's a fraud. Because we don't want, I mean, look at all the elections. You know, like my late friend said, if you left for the people, they will vote the right people in elections. You know, but unfortunately, the politicians, the moment they get to power, they take so much that should go into housing, that should go into roads, that should go into social security and all of that. They take so much. For example, like I said, somebody's been accused of over 80 billion just from one state that is not really a rich state in the country. So if he's taking over 80 billion, what would they be doing in Rivers, Bayelsa, and other places, or Lagos, right? You know, just put yourself to it and say 36 state governors, you know, a minimum of 80 billion taken in 4 years and put together, you know, and see whether that cannot fix power, that cannot build our refineries, you know. So they have so much money that our electoral process is now a crime scene where they deploy these funds, you know, to do whatever it is they want to do, regardless of what the people want. The people are now so subjugated and battered that they have resigned to faith to say, well, let me take the little I can take, and then let them have it. If you speak with most people, they'll tell you that their votes will count. So until we begin to, you know, my friend said, our people believe that the election is not worth dying for. And I'm sorry, elections should be worth dying for. Because, not in the sense of going to fight and kill people, but in the sense of really standing to the people, standing to the politicians. Because at the end of the day, there are just a few people. They cannot. I was in an interview one time, and I mentioned the fact that no army in the world can defeat the people if the people want to really stand to the army, right? So if the people really want to stand, then because, you know, you talked about National Orientation Agency. You are not going to have that because politicians are not interested in educating the people. Like I said, this is their game. They love this game. They love this shenanigans. They love this charade. This, this system that, is only for themselves. They love it. And so when they get a little, they throw some peanuts down here and there, and then get the chickens, to chew a little bit, and they get their way. That is what we have. The people must stand up. The people must begin to see that elections are worth dying for, because they are dying. People are dying from hunger. People are dying from bad roads. You know, people lose their lives every day from bad roads. People are dying from lack of power. People are dying from the challenge we are having with the fuel issues in the country. Imagine the manpower. Imagine the people are dying. Do you know that almost all my friends have BP? I don't know about you, if you have friends, and I see young people. Those days, you should be 70, at least 60 and above, before you start talking about BP. All my friends, most of my friends have BP. A friend of my colleague, who we attended school together, who was in Port Harcourt, died on New Year's Day from BP-related issues. These only politicians are killing people. So at the end of the day, it is either you stand up to them, or you continue to be subjugated and emasculated. Whilst I will not advocate violence and whatever it is, but we must stand our ground. If you stand, how many people are they going to kill? There is a price for freedom, and the people of Nigeria must at some point decide to pay that price. Every nation has paid it. If you go to even America, in America that you talk about today, they have to pay it. In France, You know, you talk about the French Revolution. If you go to everywhere in the world where you have some sense of civilization and people are respected, they have to pay the price. At some point, we have to pay the price. And we must know that whether we pay the price by actually standing our rights, we also pay the price by not doing anything, because the politicians will continue to kill everybody. People are sick. Nigeria has become a crime scene because you can't do any legitimate business to survive. People are doing fake drugs. Everything is tied to election. Everything is tied to election. Elections should be worth dying for. Elections should be worth protecting. You know, which is why I'm very sad that I'm not sure about the judicial system in this country. In the 2023 election, you can see the people decide to stand for elections. It was the first time I saw that movement. You know, no violent movement towards ensuring that our votes counted. People were counting votes. They were, even some special songs were coming out from different places. They were celebrating it, but that was cut short by INEC. Midnight rigmarole in announcing results. On the basis of a process that did not comply with the regulations even the INEC had made.
Not using the IRF portal.
Exactly, because they thought that was what they were going to do, and the people relied on it and did that. So we must stand to the people. Whoever is elected at local government level, for example, in the next few weeks, I'm going to start my own campaign. I'm going to sue my local government chairman to come account for all the funds they have received. We just begin to do all of that. Because my road to my village has not been graded. When my father died in 2020 and went to bury, like I said, some of my friends assisted. I had to go and get graders to grade the roads. Now, as we speak, my people now, because they saw that we did that time, they thought we had a lot of money. And now they are reaching out to me to say, oh, the road is not good again. Now, I have to say, okay, let us look out for everybody that's from the community. We'll create a group and let's start donating. So you can't have that. When I was growing up in my village, I'm a village man, the road was graded every year. The road was graded every November, December. Everywhere during the military, and then the first term of the democratic experience between 1999 and 2003, the roads were graded every year. But since then, now nothing has happened. So the people must stand up, and we cannot continue to wait for the politicians to do the right thing. Now we have to force them to do the right thing in a non-violent process. Those who can challenge them in court should do so. Those who can go to their homes to protest should do so. Those who can, whichever legitimate, legal, non-violent means that is at your disposal, we must do so. You talked about impeachment. If you look at the way the impeachment system is designed in the Constitution, it's even a joke. It's a political tool. These politicians have designed this system. Like I said, it's their playground. They are designing it to favor themselves. We talk about the problem with the judiciary, for example. They are really designing it now that their cases are heard. Their cases are heard while the cases that we fight for other Nigerians are not heard. They tell you that they are time-bound cases. Political cases are time-bound. So they go to court, they get justice quickly. But the other people will wait. So the only solution, really, is that the people must stand up in an election like this, for example, continue to wait there, let it rain, let the sun shine. If the security agencies want to manipulate the process, stand to them. They cannot kill everybody.
Okay, all right then. But I have to ask this question because the people make the country, and if you look at how things are culturally in all the cultures that we have in Nigeria, all the ethnic groups and tribes, all of them, over 200 of them that we have in our culture, Nigerians are not raised to talk back. We are always trained to be to withstand, to be resilient. Do you think that perhaps that upbringing is what is also affecting us on the longer run? It is
one of the major problems we have. That upbringing has now been married with religiosity, yes, that says that, oh, God will do it. These friends are killing us. God is not going to do it. Yes, God did, but He's not going to do it because He has done it. He has given us what it takes to manage the affairs of the earth. He's not going to come down. It's like somebody, your father has given you food ingredients, he's gone to the farm, produce the food and all that, and you now start praying, oh, food turn to food materials turn to food. It's not going to happen.
And also, sorry to cut you short. In addition to what my learned friend has said, if the executive have failed us and the legislative have also failed us, can the judiciary really be the hope of the common man? Now, he's talking about suing the local government chairman to come and render account this and that. I'm afraid that at the end, the court may say you don't have local standard.
You are right, they will say that, but at the end of the day, we have to just, I mean, let it be some, it's a form of resistance. You know, yes, we know that our court system are challenged, cases are not heard. Like I told you earlier of my clients calling me, and which is why a lot of my colleagues have BP, because when they start calling you, and then you don't know what to tell them anymore, right? It's sometimes when a client came to me the other day and said, "Oh, this lawyer is not doing anything. The case has been called for so over here." And I reviewed and I reviewed the case, and I saw that the lawyer has no fault. You know, and I told him, "Look, it's not the lawyer's fault. These are the challenges we're having with the system." Of course, he wasn't happy. He will go to another lawyer who will tell him something different. Say, "Don't worry, we're going to get this done," and then once you are paid, you will fall back to the system. So the point is that yes, the judiciary must, you know, take up the responsibility of ensuring that the rights of people are protected. So that as we in quote fight back, I use the word very cautiously. Yes. Fight back not in terms of violence, not in terms of you know, destroying rioting and destroying people's properties. Fight back in terms of, you know, non-violent resistance. You know, for example, you know, you have local government chairman, you know, write to them, right? Go to the place and tell the local government chairman that nothing is happening. Our roads have not been graded. You know, we need to do that. If you have a representative and you have an issue that is affecting your senatorial district, your federal constituency, go there. And you know, we all must do something, because obviously the way they have arranged the electoral process to suit themselves, and even arrange the law and the judicial system in a way teleguided to suit their game, until the people rise up and stand on their rights, I maintain that we might not really be able to change the narrative. Because, you know, the National Education Agency, like I told, they used to do very beautiful jingles. It was very, you know, I mean, I didn't think about it before coming. I would have probably remember some of the jingles that I heard that still links in my head. You know, I was listening to the person the other day. I was talking about the fact that, you know, this is the best way to do it. You know. Now, the point is, let people assume that is the only way to do it. Do we even understand what he's doing? We don't. In those days, you are supposed to have natural education agencies that will galvanize the people. And, you know, because if you want to grow an economy that has been comatose for years, it is expected that there will be issues and all of that. Not in the way we are saying now, but because one has gone beyond just bombs and challenges. But the point is that you must be able to use the people, the National Education Agency, to manage the people in such a way that people understand what we are doing. Leadership is not just about roads. That's one thing that we need to understand. Leadership is about roads, about infrastructure, whatever it is. It's about the vision. What kind of society do you want to have? And how much of that vision have you shared with the people? And, you know, and then how much of example have you given that will convince the people to believe you? Because right now, the whole country is, there has to be a transition, right? And that transition, you know, may be painful. But we must, so the people must buy into it. And it dovetails into the point we are making, which is that for us to solve our problems and change the narratives, we must resist, we must ensure we vote. Don't allow other politicians to tell you that delay materials, the rules are not good. The same rule that they should have done, they refuse to do. Edo State right now is almost impassable. You can't even go to Edo State through anywhere. You can't come to Lagos, whatever road, or a road is so poor. You can't come to Sapele Road. That one is almost a failed portion. You can also go to Auchi to go to Abuja. In fact, the Auchi road is now so bad that it's like a farm road now. You know, it's a far cry from what I saw when I was, you know, schooling at Boma and passing through that road. You can't go to Agbo. So at the end of the day, you know, they cannot use the excuse that they have created as a reason for their failure to deliver materials on time and ensure that people vote. You know, so the people must be patient. I will continue to maintain that they should be patient, they should be resilient, and fight back with their vote. fight back by standing their ground, ensuring that the votes are counted, ensuring that they are followed to the coalition center, because what they do in this game that they have created, the politicians, they do their thing at the coalition centers.
Okay, all right, and now to Barrister Yusuf, because when we are talking about people standing up and then standing up, saying out for themselves, we would always have to reflect back to our culture, which is that is indeed a problem, because on average, even an average Nigerian trying to communicate how they feel to a superior in simple terms, such things could even be considered as rude and wrong, and that is just one communicating how one feels. So how do we manage that cultural upbringing, the one of, just stay in your position, just keep calm, just endure? How do we manage that with expectations now that we really have to stand up to our leaders? Because I feel like we will keep repeating that thing. You have to stand up to the leaders, you have to hold the leaders accountable, but how? We were never thought out, we were never raised on how to do that. So how do we start doing that now? Why, of course, a lot of the percentage of Nigerians are the grown-ups who could probably have solutions to this.
Yes. Actually, our culture teaches us to be subservient. That is one. But you see, it has its own good side because it teaches us values. But on the other hand, it also has a negative impact. And because of that negative impact, a lot of people have this pent-up anger, bottled up anger, being suppressed. So what we have at the end of the day, we have youth restiveness who want to now say, oh, we want to throw the system overboard, to hell with any elder, let us get it, and they resort to armed struggle against the state. That is exactly what is going on now. So those that want to, correct the system diplomatically are often ignored. We have an elder statement. Most times you will read the newspaper, you see people suggesting to government will take the suggestion. Then all of a sudden you will not hear a small group getting arms and ammunition, and they say, after all, the politicians gave us this one when they were campaigning, and there's nothing for us to do. And let us teach them that we still have work to do. And they resort to armed struggle. Initially, they will be ignored. Let me just give an example of this Boko Haram. That's how it started. When Boko Haram started, it started as a group of religious faithful, and the politicians, they were the ones that still came and said, come and work for us. They came and worked for them, gave them some, and they said, so there's so much money like this. And later, the politicians now dumped them. They said, why is it like this? Why is it like this? You're supposed to, if you can give us this type of money, then the society should have been, well taken care of, well maintained, roads, everything. And when they were ignored, they decided to now fight against the system. So there should be a balance. Like I was mentioning the youth corpers, I said what they did to them was wrong, but they should not truncate the system because of that. So if we want to really say, oh, this our culture, make us subservient, is sort of oppressive, let us jettison it overboard and show that yes, we can act like Americans, we can act like this, and say to hell with you, why you? It's not good, because at the end of the day we will be worse off, because this type of subservience is what is still maintaining a little sanity even in the face of crisis.
Definitely, because sometimes I'm always surprised that when you go to the international scene and then you see people uprising because of something as simple as increasing retirement age, and I'm thinking, if this is done in Nigeria, people would be happy, people would not lament. But definitely, where we have the advantages and disadvantages to such things, and then we sincerely hope that things like this is going to be sorted out looking forward. But then we still have to ask ourselves the question, do we try our best to hold our leaders accountable, or do we just wait until almighty and divine forces to help solve things for us? But now, when we are talking about voters, we have about 2.6 million registered voters, like I said earlier, and we have 2.2 million PVC collected. So I was listening to a broadcast yesterday, and then someone made mention of something that if we have 2.2 million PVC collected, are they in the right hands? Which I feel that is sincerely a big question that we should ask ourselves, because while we know that this election is keenly contested, it's a very special one. we of the 17 political parties that are present there, we have three top ones, which is like a replica of what happened during the presidential election. So, and then everyone is still open, and then we are still looking up to see, okay, who is going to emerge a winner. And the interesting thing now is raining heavily in Edo State. That's the updates that I'm getting right now. And we hope that this would not disturb how the election is going to go. Okay, so now back to what I was trying to raise earlier, the issue of the PVCs being in the right hand, and then the ones that are there, they are the ones that are actually voting. No one is voting on behalf of anyone. So let's talk about the use of beavers in checkmating.
Exactly, that's where I'm coming to now. So that depends on how prepared INEC is for this election. Are they going to use beavers? Are they going to accredit the genuine holders of that PVC? If that is done, then no matter how, we'll be able to get genuine voters. And if the PVC, they are in the wrong hands, how are they going to use it? So these are some of the questions that we need to consider in order to to ensure that this election is credible. Because if 100 PVC is in the hand of a few unregistered voters, and at the end those people are able to vote, then it has defeated the system.
Thank you. All right.
The truth of the matter is that, I mean, my friend is very correct. The INEC has the system right now that should be able to ensure that one man, one vote. That you cannot go and vote on behalf of somebody, and the system is there. So if the system is not followed, if anything happens that allows people who have accumulated PVC one way or the other to vote for a particular candidate, if that happens in the election, then INEC would have been the institution that made it happen, and INEC will be the one to blame for that, because the beavers that you need to validate or verify those PVCs are not supposed to be manufactured by individuals. Politicians are not supposed to have it. The political parties in Edo State right now are not supposed to have it. But in the past, we have seen instances where there's some sort of arrangement that allows all manner of malfeasance to happen in the electoral process. So INEC must ensure that anybody who wants to vote must come physically before them, and that the beavers is used to verify and validate the INEC card, permanent voters card, before the vote can be allowed, before the person can be allowed to vote. If you don't do that, then you allow the wrong people to vote. If you do it the way the system is right now, then it will be impossible, practically impossible for them to use it if they have accumulated these whatever. It's similar to what is happening in the oil and gas industry. You ask yourself, crude oil theft, where are they taking those crude to? Dangote mentioned one thing. He said there's a blending plant in Malta. Now, which means these people who are involved in crude oil theft, they are not creating refineries abroad. And they take the stolen, because you can't take this stolen crude to official refineries in same societies, And for my research, because I've done a few things in the oil and gas sector, my research, the bulk of the refineries for where NNPC is importing fuel, they cannot refine for their countries because they don't meet the standards of those countries. They can only bring it here. So, which means there are a lot of, in quotes, in the local language, mosquito refineries somewhere, and some people have, then they now take stolen crude there, refine it and bring it back to us. So, unless you have a situation like that, where you now have beavers being given to people, and then they use the stolen cards and code now to go and vote, then you will be able to orchestrate what you are trying to prevent by that question about ensuring that the voters' cards are not in the wrong hands.
Okay, all right. So while we're talking about issue of uploading results directly to the IREF portal that was promised in the 2023 election, but we did not see that happen. Some people who have come up to INEC defense said that perhaps it was fear of being hacked. Do you think that that reason might be legit enough? Because if they are uploading to the IREF portal, then there will still be issue of the IREF portal showing a particular result and then the one that was counted showing another result. Do you think that reason is valid enough? That was the reason INEC did not upload to the IREF portal? These are people who were speaking for INEC, that in their defense, perhaps it was the issue of being hacked.
I don't think INEC has any excuse. INEC is supposed to be an umpire, right? Let me give you an example. An umpire is like a referee in a match who has given the rules. You know, they'll call the two captains from both sides and say, this is it. And then in the middle of the game, the referee changes it only to the knowledge of one of the parties.
Exactly.
The other party is not aware. What excuse you have for that? Even if there's no excuse for that. The only thing you should have done is to stop that process, the match, and then call everybody together and say, look, please, as a result of XYZ, what we are area premise cannot be possible. And so this is what we are going to do. So that everybody will be acting on that premise. So in the moment there's no excuse. I don't want to even hear the story from INEC. INEC failed in that regard, and like we said earlier, the court aided them in that failure, which is really very sad for our democracy. There's no excuse. You know, technology is a seamless way of preventing fraud in an electoral process. It's very easy. You know, I mean, INEC invested so much money into this device, into this system, and they didn't tell us at all that it wasn't going to be possible. You know, if you look at the electoral act, INEC has discretion. INEC exercised that discretion by making a regulation saying that the election, there will be election transmission results. So the court now says, well, INEC has discretion. I mean, what are you talking about? They exercise that discretion. They can't change it midway. So INEC has no excuse, and they need to, you know, come clean on this and ensure that going forward we have an electoral process. The only way we can stop manipulation of results at collation centers is to ensure that the results from polling units
are transmitted directly,
transmitted electronically, corresponds with the manual compilation of results. If you don't have that, forget it. I'll give you an example. In Edo State House of Representatives election, in one of the federal constituencies, there was a case where, you know, I have a copy of the result sheets from INEC. It showed there was a computation error. They added votes to somebody without, if you add the votes from the wards together, it does not match, right? And yet they declared that person winner. The other person went to court, and the court was saying, well, you know, the document alone, if you want to have it, I can send it to you because it was shared with me as, you know, to give an advice. It was clear from the document that I didn't make an. So if you had electoral transmission of results, that's manual manipulation. You know what happened? You know, at least let's all be able to compare the electoral transmission with manual, so that there is explanation as to why it is different. That's what is expected. This is 2024. There are simple apps, simple AI technologies that can be deployed to have this done without any issues. In most countries now, as we are voting, the results are being collated. Everybody already knows before they officially announce results who have won the election. You don't need to wait till all this midnight drink marrow, all this demonic congregation at night. You know, where they say they are going to declare results in the morning, and then at 3 or 2 without notice, the declare results. You know, you have that because as you are just voting, as you are pressing that beavers, as you are pressing that beavers, it goes straight to the collation center that is on screen for everybody to see. That is the only way. The reason why the politicians they are not, you know, for electoral transmission is essentially because they want to continue to benefit from this their game. This is their game that they do at collation centers.
Okay, all right. So I think that one of the ways that this could be prevented is perhaps electronic voting. How soon or how far are we to attaining that in Nigeria?
The best time would have attained it was during the presidential election. Everything was perfect for that system to work. So the excuse of INEC did not hold water at all. So if we say we're in the near future, the best time that electronic voting system would have worked was during the presidential election. So if INEC will now say, okay, let me do a little damage control and use this Edo State election to correct the anomalies of last year. Let us wait and see.
Okay, but do you think that might be so easy? We consider the level of literacy, the level of exposure to technology that we have all around Nigeria, even in some states. We have some states who are more open to technology than the other.
Yes.
So how would the e-voting have taken place in such states where the exposure to technology is not on the same level?
That's what my learned friend is talking about, orientation. If before that presidential election, a lot of people are upbeat about beavers. Beavers was in the list of everybody, both old and young. then by now people should have been conscious of it. It was because beavers failed to achieve the desired result last year. That's why people just lost interest that, okay, maybe Nigerians are not really technologically suave to, participate. That as I'm talking to you, an old woman know how to operate a phone, how to receive a call. So it will not prevent anybody from, But that electronic voting system would have been the best. If, as you are voting, the result is electronically transmitted and it collates with what INEC is declaring, we will have a perfect election.
Okay, all right. So do you share the
well, I mean, the electoral voting, electoral voting is not electoral transmission in a way. So electoral voting has not really been fully approved by the Electoral Act. So perhaps, in the future that, we need to consider that. I agree with what my friend is saying. I just want to add that you don't even need everybody to vote electronically, right? There's even in the US, not everybody vote electronically. Some people mail in their ballots. Yes, so yes. If you have a central information system, right? Anyhow you voted. If you voted electronically with your phone, or you go to a center, a polling center, to use the beavers to vote, the moment the system is designed in such a way that once you vote, nobody else can vote. Some people can do manual voting, some people can do electronic voting that is convenient for them, and by going to INEC polling unit to go and do it. That's the difference. It's not like the banking app. Some people go to the bank to withdraw money, right? But you can do transfers from your phone and pay for things. So not everybody needs to do electronic voting. If you say we don't have infrastructure, internet, and everything in the other communities, that might not even be correct, because my grandmothers and so in the villages are now doing electronic transfer of money with their phones. So impressive. They are doing that, and like I said, you don't even need everybody to do it electronically. Some people can still go to the center and vote. Then me that I want to enjoy myself in my bedroom, I can vote from there. If you do that, you will see that almost 90% of people will vote in the election.
Exactly.
The reason why you are having vote turnout is people are considering their safety, they are considering the shenanigans of INEC, like we are seeing in Edo State now, where after how many hours the elections have not commenced, and they are telling stories about NYC members have not been paid and all that. And so to avoid that, I can just, in the LBA election, in the lawyers' election, I voted from the comfort of as I'm playing with my son, I was voting, right? Now, what that means is that a lot of people will be able to vote. And once you have a lot of people voting, you see that the politicians, their stronghold of the country will die down. You see, people are already resisting. That's one thing the politicians don't see. They're already resisting. The third force you see now, the one you saw in the presidential election, you are seeing it in those stages, with Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party pulling very strongly in the election. It's a resistance by the other people who do not like the system that has been put in place, who do not appreciate the political game that has been put in place by the PDP and the APC in the way and the manner they have been running the country. And so they team up with a third force. And we are seeing that gradually coming up. Unfortunately, the wave was dented or reduced by politicians through the rigmarole they did with the 2023 elections. You can see if that mood had been allowed, just that we are making people, they will not be there tomorrow. Because the people, the Nigerian people, the young people on the street, the young people who wants change, they are actually ready to make it happen. It is the platform that is the problem now. And so they thought they had gotten the platform with no party. The guy who won the TOSA federal constituency campaign, nobody knew, I didn't know the name until he was declared winner of the election. Somebody in Edo State, Edo or which of the federal constituencies that won as a Labour Party, he didn't campaign. A friend of mine was telling me that he wanted to jackpot, and then somebody was saying, just take the ticket, nobody was fighting for it. And he took it, and the wave of the Obi movement, the bigger movement, gave him the victory. That is where we are moving to. But politicians they are also very tactical and resilient. So they also they are pushed back. And we need to continue to push. And I want to see that the people of Edo State will push in this election. I'm not saying I have my preference. But you can vote your president, but you have to understand the basis of what we are saying, which is that the people must rise up and resist and ensure that you have, so that you can have all the system, electoral voting, electrical transmission of results, National Education Agency being functional to educate the people on the reason for elections and all of that, and then good governance generally, and even the rule of law. Because when the politicians see that the candidate be voted out, they will respect the rule of law. They will respect people. Right now, they don't have the gas for you. What they have the gas for is money. That's why they can vote. You can see all the fights in this election. You can see all the battles. Even a few days ago, was it yesterday? I saw the fake news that one of the candidates has put out of the race, which is not true. All of these people are looking at the boss. Somebody is alleged to have stolen over 80 billion. So they are looking at the possibility of this kind of, or apart from this kind of access, and then having unrestrained access to security votes and all that. And so they are willing to do anything. The only way to stop that is for the people to be able to really express their wishes in elections. And the politicians are standing against it. The people must rise up to force them to respect the wishes and aspirations of the people.
Okay, all right. But if we have to look at the political terrain of Nigeria, the sad thing is from one political party to another, we keep recycling the same people. Even for new political parties that are making headways, that are trending right now, it is still recycling from one political party to another. And then if anytime we are disgruntled, people will say that, okay, if you don't like those that are in power, then form your own political group then. But in reality, how easy it is really to achieve something like that when we know that, okay, there are these popular ones, and then the ones that you feel that this person feels like, okay, I could make a difference, because we are tired of the same old faces that we keep seeing jumping from one political party to another, and then one is creating their own. Before such political parties could get popular, it might take years. But I think with the advent of social media nowadays, things like that is being reduced. But still, when they are advising people that you should vote for the right candidate, and then they don't even see the right candidate to vote for, and then they are advised to form their own political parties, how practical is that?
Yes. Now, I think we are getting to that stage now. With what happened last year, it is an eye-opener. If we can have 2 or 3 of such development, we may end up having 5 strong political parties, 5 strong platforms where people can now key into. And with the support, Obi may not have been the best candidate, but people saw him as an option compared to the other 2 candidates. And they expressed what happened in Obi's case was an expression of, yes, at least I have seen the kind of person I would like to lead me.
The illusion of difference. The illusion of something different is going to be better.
Yes, exactly. You understand? So it is no longer about the political party. The problem of PDP and APC is that they are still relying on party supremacy, everything party. But in the case of Obedience, the Labour Party, is becoming something different. Now, Obi was not the first person that made Labour Party popular. In Edo State, during the time of Mimiko, when PDP still tried this type of game with him, he pulled out from PDP, went to Labour Party contest, and he won. You understand? So
I went back.
So that is where
the issue with the politics.
Those are politicians without ideology. They just believe in winning election. But gradually, like my learned friend is saying, things will definitely change. Even if we get to a stage, these old politicians, they say, wear themselves out because they will not be able to compete with the younger generation.
In fact, I was really going to say that it's not about creating a new political party. The reason why the political parties that we have right now are projecting this kind of candidates that we are seeing is because they don't see any resistance. They feel that with their money,
yes,
they can do their way and win elections. Otherwise, they won't be bringing up candidates like this. Candidates that wouldn't want to go for debate. In the Edo State election, for example, the APC candidate is found to, he's refused all forms of debate. He wasn't even interested in interviews, and people have talked about challenges. So the point I'm making is that you cannot have political parties will not throw up candidates that cannot motivate the people to vote for them if they know that the votes of the people count. If they know that the people will decide their fortunes at the election. So it doesn't matter whether it's PDP or APC. The moment our electoral system is such that the right people, the person with the popular vote wins, then every party will now be bringing people that can appeal to the people.
Exactly.
So PDP will change their strategy. This kind of let's go and get somebody who has amassed money, that have at least substantial amount of money to weather the storm of politics, they will change it. APC will change it, because that's what we are saying. We have said from their presidential candidates to some governorship candidates, you know, they don't really appeal to the young people that should vote, you know. But if they know that without the young people they can't win elections, they'll bring the good candidates.
Okay, all right. So, well, sadly, we've run out of time for this particular segment. We are still coming back to the studio. So please keep a date with us and join us by 12 p.m. Thank you both so much for being a part of this discussion. It has really been so interesting. Thank you so much, Barrister Best Yusuf, for joining us. We really appreciate your presence. And thank you to Barrister Elvis Asia for joining us. Yeah, so if you are just tuning in now, don't worry, you've missed quite a lot, but you can catch up with us on our social media. You can join us on YouTube as Galaxy TV News and Facebook as Galaxy Television. So keep calm, relax. We are still coming back to the studio by 12 p.m. and then we will be bringing you update from the election scene in Edo State. It's rainy, but we do hope that that would not disturb the flow of the election over there. And then we wish the Edo people strength to persevere. Sorry about the fact that INEC was late to the scene, but please do not let that discourage you to come out to cast your vote. So thank you for now and see you by noon. We shall continue by then. My name is Uriba Misalako. Stay with us.